like you lost another one.
What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the OG3. Yes, we are down one guy. Shout out to our guy Mo. It's little man's birthday, so he had to go do his daddy duties for a little man.
Happy birthday, Trey. I believe his nickname's Trey.
Happy birthday to 3 and all that. I think he is 3. So happy birthday.
I can't believe that, dude.
Crazy, right?
He wasn't born when we started this network, and he's 3.
Yeah.
Man,
it goes quick and time flies. But Jeff, another OG3 we are doing this week. How you been, my man?
Fantastic, man. We talked about it last time. This time of year, the weather broke here in Ohio in the last week. We've had some perfect 80-something degree days, been out in the Jeep. And then this is why this is my favorite time of the year. I tried to express this. When it's 80 degrees out and you're out in the Jeep in Ohio and you're like, oh my God, we survived the winter and blah, blah, blah. But then you go home and you roll in, the sun's starting to go down, you have a Corona, and then you're watching first round NBA. You know what I mean? Like you're catching the second half of the early games, you're catching the late games. It's it's the best mix. The only thing that's even close is in the early fall, late summer, when college football starts and NFL football starts, and it's still super nice out, but then it's the sun's starting to go down, starting to cool down a little bit, and then football's on. That's the only thing that's even close to this time of year. I've been having so much fun watching these games, watching these young players. Everything I dreamed of for these playoffs has come true, and the weather's been awesome here. So yeah, I'm riding high, man.
Yeah, man, it's that time of the year. Like you said, it's getting nice here in New York, and now on top of New York sports kind of riding a high right now. With
y'all have to be in hysterics. Let me tell you, I just want to shout out real quick because I'm sure you have a bunch of New York fans. I know you're my New York guy and all that. Let me tell you how impressive it is to watch the game and watch the fans of the Rangers and the Knicks show up home and away. Yeah. I want to be clear, and show up and go crazy for their team and all the enthusiasm. It has made the playoffs so fun to watch because y'all have been there for your teams, and it's really I've said it times. I don't care if it's been 50 years. The NBA playoffs are better when the Knicks are good, and it's made the playoffs better. It's fucking awesome to see, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a when New York teams are in it, especially when the Knicks are part of the playoffs and all that, it's a different feeling. Yep. Whether you can't stand the Knicks or whether you love the Knicks, you have an opinion about them, and it's just a different energy. And the energy today obviously is not what we anticipated it to be. It's crazy. I went to Dunkin' Donuts right before I did the show. I went to go pick up my car. Got out of the car, went to Dunkin' Donuts, grabbed some coffee, and the guy who's giving me that coffee was like, "I'm so sorry, man. It was a tough loss." And we just get it's I'm like, yeah. We're still good, we're still up. It was let's not have a be down in gloom yet. But I was like, yeah, it sucks and all that. But it's just we all look at each other like, damn, we could have had that. Today, everybody's seeing me with my Knicks stuff. I always wear a Knicks hat or something New York, Yankees hat, Knicks hat, Giants hat, And everyone's like, "Oh man, it sucks." I was like, "Well, it's all right." That happened to us in Game 2, the reverse. So maybe this is the basketball gods. Hey, they're gonna have to really earn this one. So but like I said, New York being relevant in basketball it just makes
that's how it should.
It just feels better. I mean, I know maybe I'm biased because I am a Knicks fan and I'm a New Yorker.
No, but you're not. As an Ohio guy, it is better. Whether I said this last night, I was on Twitter and I'm talking to everybody 30 years ago, I would have hated Jalen Brunson, and I mean that as a compliment. Yeah. I'd have been like, why can't we kill this dude? Why won't he go away? Why does he keep fighting? I would have been so mad. I told you, I'm an older person. I grew up watching, the Bulls versus the Knicks back in the day with Ewing and Starks and all them, and Oakley and Starks and all them boys. I hated them so bad, but that was a compliment. And I feel the same way about this Knicks team. Now I don't dislike this Knicks team because the Bulls are terrible and they're not in the playoffs, so I'm not a factor. But then here's a neutral fan standpoint. There's sometimes where I'm like, I love what Philadelphia's doing. I love what Maxi's doing. I love how he's kind of quietly taking the team, but yet I love what Embiid's doing. Like, I think he's legit hurt. Like, I do think he's
100% hurt. Yeah,
I don't think it's I don't think there's any theatrics or anything.
No
but
BS.
I also think he's kind of playing like a dog, like the big man's back. You know what I mean? But then that might be the next time down the court, I'm like, this DiVincenzo guy, Brunson, like all these dudes, the way they pass, because obviously I watched Tibbs for a long time as a Bulls fan. I'm like, I kind of root for like one of the. I kind of wanted to work one of these times because I'm like, I know he's got what it takes to finish this. And last night I was like, I was honestly until less than a minute left, I was like, I'm happy for Tibbs. You know what I mean? Like he did it. This is the Bulls that I wanted to see, but we always got injured. We had to play LeBron James all the time. And like, I was like, this is awesome for Tibbs. And then you know what I mean? So it's been fun to watch. I'm so excited to watch each game. Plus, it's and it's Philly versus New York. You can't get more heated than that. Like
it's wild,
dude. I can't imagine
it is
because y'all have to be intermixed like real tight right there.
Because Philly is not too far from like New York.
No,
like it's probably a 2.5, 3 hour drive from Philly to like where I'm at, New York. So
but y'all kind of touch each other because you're such big cities. Like I bet from the most, so Philly's south of you guys, right? Am I correct? I'm not being stupid here. So like, I bet if you take the most south, like Knicks fan and the most north Philly fan, they live next door to each other. You know what I'm saying? Like these two teams, these squads touch,
Yeah. And like, if you count Jersey to be like neutral, they're more Philly or fans in Jersey. Yeah. And Jersey is obviously, it's right here.
Really?
So, yeah. There's a more Philly fan because there's certain Knicks of like, it's like, I guess like North Jersey where it's you would think it's Philadelphia because it's all Phillies fans. It's all Sixers fans, Eagles fans.
Are they from the area or are they haters? You can be honest with me, dog.
Those I don't know. I just think that's how it's always been. Like North Jersey guys.
I would not have guessed that. I would have thought you got
more Philly fans than they are like Jersey, Giants, Jets, whatever, Devils. I don't know what hockey, to be honest, but I'm sure it's the same thing there. But it's like that. Yeah. There's a lot of so it's heated.
This shit's heated.
It's heat, and it's just in general like Philly and New York. Phillies will always, their toughness that's always gets, and their fan base, and the fact that their fan base kind of got tested. Their fan. And you saw with the Knicks. I mean, we were loud.
They showed up,
and like our guy Triple M was there in the building. And like a bunch of Knicks fans I know were in the building. Like they travel well, and Philly fans were upset and all that. And so, it's a legit. I mean, Boston and New York is a rivalry, but I think that's more just. Honestly, I think baseball is what I don't really think that's rivalry as much as Philly and New York is.
I'm not old enough to remember. I don't know if there was a time to where the Celtics and Knicks were any kind. Like I just literally I know Philly. Like I always think basketball. I would think more like Philly, New York. Football, definitely Philly, New York.
Like
of course, I don't know though. Like you guys have played 2 Super Bowls against each other.
More of the Jets fans' hatred for New England or Boston. So that's the thing is like Giants fans. Like I'm a Giants fan. We the Eagles are in our division, and a lot of like I'm a Yankees fan, so we don't have Philly in our division.
Yeah,
so that's why Boston Yankees is always been there. So like the Mets fans. So if you're a Knicks, Mets, Jets,
that's why I was just getting ready to ask you. I want to know how this works out.
Knicks, Mets, Giants fan.
Okay,
Knicks, Mets, Giants fan, or if you're a hockey fan too, and you're a Rangers fan, Philly's in your life 24/7, 365. So you hate Philly. For me, like I'm a Giants. Can't stand Philly. Knicks, they're in our division, can't stand Philly.
What about crosstown rivals? Would you rather who do you like less? The Brooklyn Nets or the Sixers?
Sixers.
Okay. So let me ask you this too. Is there I don't know anything about, like, I live in Ohio. We basically have one team, then some professional teams, but the allegiances and the split, like if you like, there's nobody from Ohio that's like, I like the Bengals and the Cavs. Like, it just doesn't work that way in Ohio because we're separated. Yeah. So like, if you're a Knicks fan in general, who is your baseball team?
How it's always been set
okay,
up.
let's do this.
Since,
I like this.
Since
since
New York has really only had one basketball team until like the last 10 years when Brooklyn came over from Jersey.
Are they even counted yet? Are they even considered a New York team? I don't.
It's crazy. We have two teams in every sport, right? Essentially. Yeah. So it's kind of most like Jets Giants. I would say I could argue say it's down the middle. As far as
get out,
I could say down the middle. Yankees Mets. You could probably say 65-35, but the 35% of Mets fans, they are loud.
Okay.
Hockey, Islanders, Rangers.
The Rangers have dominant Rangers.
It's probably dominant, but the Islanders fans are pretty hardcore.
But my question is,
it's usually Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, you're Yankees, Giants, Knicks.
Okay.
Yankees, right? Three sport. The Yankees, Giants, Knicks, Rangers.
Okay.
And the other way is Mets, Jets, Islanders.
Oh, I knew it.
Knicks. Because if you're a Mets fan, you're from Queens. Queens is pretty close to Long Island, so you're probably an Islanders fan. So Islanders playing Long Island and all that. And then the Jets is just, I don't know. It's for some reason that's kind of just been the thing and all that. Now it's obviously different combos and all that.
I see it. No, that's the question I was going to ask is how it aligns.
But that's usually how it is. It's you're a Giants fan, you're a Yankees fan.
That makes more sense. That seems more natural.
And then if you're a Mets fan, you're usually a Mets, Islanders, Jets, and then Knicks is obviously everybody's a Knicks fan.
So is there an area of the New York City area that they just like, let's say there's a bunch of transplants, like people that didn't grow up there, whatever, they moved in, they had to pick a team. Is there an area where you guys are like, we don't really care who they root for? There has to be.
Yeah. As far as well, like
is there a suburb or something to where if you meet somebody and they're like, oh, I like the Mets, you're like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about your opinion. Because Ohio is kind of
it's just because we have two teams, so it's really like even in Queens, like the Mets play in Queens, you're gonna find Yankee fans. In the Bronx, you're gonna find Mets fans. Like my cousin, I spend a lot of time in the Bronx because my cousin used to live maybe 5 minutes away from. I could see Yankee Stadium from where he used to live, and my aunt, they were Mets fans. Because my father was a Mets fan. Like there's a photo of me, and I'll show you it, of me in a Mets onesie. So technically, for a little, there's people who are in the Bronx that they're Mets fans because growing up the Mets were the thing and all that. So I don't know. It's just
Mets dope ass uniforms, by the way. I still love
it. I love the color scheme, guys.
The color scheme, the Knicks and the Mets. Like I would like. Plus, I remember like I'm old enough to remember like I watched Gooden and Strawberry and them like win the World Series. Like so
that's why there's a lot of Mets fans from that era, and that was obviously a tremendous.
Since it's two different leagues in the sports, which is kind of unique. Are you allowed to like if the other like right now? Nope, nope. You had let's see. You can't.
No,
like nope. I'm just
only time
like a Mets fan.
I can imagine in '86 when the Mets played the Red Sox.
Yeah,
that there were Yankees fans
because of the Red Sox.
Because of the Red Sox.
That's fair though.
But the hatred for the Mets is just as much as the Red Sox. So like that's the series where you're just like.
Is the Subway Series the greatest?
It's intense
series that
like 2000. Like it was like a civil war. Like awesome. You don't get that in sports where you have two teams in one city that have that animosity. Like we could talk about like LA, like the Lakers and Clippers. It's not. I'm sorry.
It's never been Lakers Clippers.
Or
it could have been
Dodgers, Angels,
nope.
or whatever.
Nope.
Yankees Mets in 2000, Jeff. It was
the closest was San Francisco, Oakland.
And I'm sure in the 80s and all that
was close.
But
yeah.
like now, obviously that's not the same and all, but just there's something about that. It's intense. It's crazy when it's a Subway Series in here. If it's just the regular season, like they have their sets, it's like it is crazy.
That sounds insane.
It's intense, and just like with all our like Giants Jets is.
Yeah,
that's war. Because remember, we're in the same stadium.
Same stadium.
Like I said, it's 50-50. Regardless of who's the home team, away team, it's 50% Giants, 50% Jets. Jets fans are a little bit more rowdy and I get why, because their history, they haven't won since '69, right?
Yeah.
So they're a little bit more obnoxious. Not obnoxious.
They got them Sanchez years. They got them,
Jeff, that's all I hear about all this. If I hear more about the 2 times they went to the back-to-back AFC championships, you didn't even get to the Super Bowl. I know you hear
the 2 times they didn't get to the Super Bowl.
2 times they didn't get to the Super Bowl. Or
you don't have to tell me. I'm a Dolphins fan. I know exactly how irritating the Jets are.
Like,
I've despised them dudes since day one. I've despised how
many times they hear about
the Jets and the Bills. I've despised since I was born.
Do you know how many times they hear about because when we won the second Super Bowl in 11, when Victor Cruz came on the scene. I don't know if you remember that game.
Oh, Victor.
It was the 99-yard touchdown he had.
Yeah.
The Jets
That's a shame that he got hurt.
Yeah, the Jets are kicking our ass. Kicking our ass. And it wasn't a high score. It was a low score. But if you watch the game, you're like, the Jets are dominant. They're just not scoring points.
The Darrelle Revis years.
Yeah. And we scored that 99-yard touchdown, and it changed the season. Obviously, we went to Super Bowl, and the Jets were never the same. And Jets fans, they literally haven't made the playoffs since that.
Yeah. What's great about I miss guys like Cruz, like you brought up, because those are the dudes that make things go. Those are the dogs that make things go. Like when we just watched the NFL draft, a couple weeks ago, and as you're watching it. Like there's a guy, for instance, his name's Xavier Johnson, got undrafted out of Ohio State, free agent signing Buffalo Bills after the draft. But like, as somebody who watched him, I'm like, he is an absolute NFL player. He will absolutely make the team. Mm-hmm. He makes your team better because at some point, you're just a dog. You know what I mean? Like you want to play the sport. Like you're going to show up. And, he's one of those guys. Cruz is one of those guys. Like I see these guys get drafted. And I'm like, sometimes you just draft a football player. You know what I mean? Like Xavier Johnson's not going to have 80 catches and 10 touchdowns. But like, if it's in the playoffs, like I promise he ain't going to drop it. I promise he'll get the extra yard, all these things. And like, Cruz was a guy like that too. You know what I mean? Like
undrafted guy out of UMass.
Dog. Absolute dog.
And he was from New York and all that. So like I remember
if he doesn't get hurt, I mean he had a good career, but he has a fantastic career if he don't get hurt.
I mean, he had I think he had 1,500 yards that season.
He was a baller.
And like I said, I mentioned that play. He goes 99 yards. That literally, we'd lose that game. I don't know if we're in the playoffs. Like that game literally took us all the way to obviously winning the Super Bowl that year. And the Jets haven't recovered since then. So it's like I said, these rivalries are intense. New York, and like I said, back to Philly, New York, it's intense and all. And these playoffs have been this has been fun to watch so far. We talked before, like it's been fun. That this Knicks Philly series has been intense.
Yeah,
it is. Every game has come down to essentially the last few seconds and all that. So it has been, and we're seeing the next.
Let's talk about the next generation.
The next iteration of greatness. Like we're seeing guys evolve.
It's officially
think about it, Jeff. There's Steph Curry not in the playoffs. KD just got swept. LeBron lost in 5. So the 3 guys, the 3 pillars, they're the pillars of this generation since 2000. They are the pillars of this league.
And you can even throw in like Klay Thompson, Draymond.
Yeah, but we're seeing the end of an era. Like it really is. Like those 3 guys have been the faces of the league, and they're not in the second round.
Nope.
And it's sad on one hand, but on the other hand, we need this. We need Anthony Edwards. We needed Anthony Edwards to take that step because we know everybody loves his personality, love his goofiness, love his how he's different. He's not your typical.
He is,
but his play backs it up. It's not just that he's a good he's a star.
Yeah.
He's a star. He's really good, and he's closing out, and he's going he's going head to head against Kevin Durant. He's getting his respect.
He was hunting Kevin Durant.
And just think about it. That's your favorite player. That's his favorite player of all time, and he's going mano a mano and capitalize. So it's been fun to see that next. Awesome. We're seeing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take that next step.
Shai, Maxey, Ant-Man, all these dudes, man. Brunson. I mean, Brunson feels like an old guy compared to these. He's what, year 6?
And it's crazy. Yeah. And Brunson, think about Brunson's his on second round pick, an afterthought. I mean, this guy was a champion.
Yeah.
And afterthought, Dallas didn't even think he was worth 4 for $50.
Right.
And
he's an absolute dog.
And he's carrying a team right now. So it's just been fun to see a lot of these young guys emerge, because we all know this is where you go from being a star
to
superstar. This is where you earn your superstar stripes, and these guys they're knocking on the door of superstar.
Yeah, and something that's been cool to watch is as out of respect, he wanted to play like that against Kevin Durant. It wasn't it was like, I'm going to show this guy how good I can play. And then here's a couple comical things. Here's the oldest superstar left and nobody saw this coming a few years ago. Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Chris Middleton. What's happening that you guys came out of Kyrie Irving is awesome. It makes me sad that it feels like we lost 5 years of Kyrie Irving just for whatever reason. It feels like we missed out on 5 years of a career. This should have been the whole thing. The Boston was a failure. The Nets was a failure. Everything, all the time off. And now I look at this and I'm he chose his path. He does what he wants to do. But I'm like, what if you just wanted to play basketball? How good could Kyrie Irving been?
We're seeing it now.
It's an absolute Hall of Famer. And I've been honestly, the Pacers Bucks series is good, but it's terrible. Neither one of those teams. I'm going to talk about this here in a second. Neither one of those teams. It does not matter who wins it. But I'm not saying they shouldn't want to win, but it does not matter. But Chris Middleton stepping up with nobody to help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was awesome to see. I thought they had no chance to win, the last game, and they did. So that's been neat. But that's another thing I was going to say before we get past the Knicks Sixers series. The quiet thing about this, whoever wins that series has got basically a pass to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, if they just got everybody healthy. There is no way that the Pacers or the Bucks can take out the Sixers or the Knicks without injury, barring injury. So
I think with the Bucks, we got to see what happens with Lillard and Giannis.
Come on, bro, it's Lillard.
Because if they can get one more win, if the Bucks can somehow get one more game, I think Dame or Giannis suit up for Game 7.
You think?
Yeah,
I don't think Lillard wants. I think he is hurt. I think he is hurt. I'm not saying he's faking it or any of that. I do believe he is hurt. I don't think. Here's what the way I saw Giannis go out the last game he played, I think it was game 80 or 81. I watched him. He got hurt. That looks like don't play. Something bad's going to happen if you try to play this year. I really, just the way he grabbed his calf, I'm like it's not worth it. I don't think he can play 2 games at full strength without really injuring something. So
I think the one difference, and
I know Indiana's not beating either one of these teams. I know that. See, the one thing with Indiana is, let's say, for instance, the Knicks advance. Okay.
The one thing we would have trouble with Indiana is their pace of play, because they can score. And we struggle when Brunson is not playing, is not on the court. We don't have anyone that can kind of slow down.
I gotcha.
The score.
There would be a lot of load.
Slow down the bleed.
You're right. There would be a lot of load on Brunson, but honestly, the way I've seen Hart, DiVincenzo, Brunson play, I think that they would welcome, after this Sixers series, I think they would love to go into a Pacers series and be like, guess what we don't have to do? Get touched. Like, all we have to do is shoot. I think that Brunson would probably average like close to 40 a game, and they sweep the Pacers.
Oh, he would definitely average 40 a game.
Because I think without the contact, and then I think if they get the Pacers like into their game at all, here's the other side of that. If they get the Pacers into their game at all, they will murder them. The Pacers want no part of what the Knicks can do.
They're not
if
as
they play their game.
My thing is just the offense, because we are struggling with Brunson's not carrying us. We really struggle, and we're outside
of what game one was a little different. But you're right. Outside of game one, well, Brunson, like, he's had a lot of the load all season.
He's tired.
I mean, the dude's a baller.
That's my thing.
I still think it's a walkthrough for either team.
How, if they do advance, I just wonder Brunson how his endurance is going to hold up, because he's taken a beating, and Philly is there. They have been physical with him. Oubre has been guarding him tough.
Yeah,
they have whacked him a lot, and all that. They have been really handsy with him, physical with him.
Yeah.
And they played good, and Philly's played really good defense on Brunson. They just know how to.
Philly's played really good. Philly's played really good.
Philly arguably should be up 3-2 instead of down 3-2, because game 2. But that's just how the basketball world works. It just
I think 3-2 Knicks is appropriate. I think it's right.
So
what about the other side of the bracket? So you got this Cavs Orlando series, which is one of the weirdest series I've watched forever.
I told
blowout series.
I told Thad, like, you have to watch the game live on Snapchat. Like, it's crazy how, like, it's just. But like I told you, every home team is going to win this game series, and so far it's been home team chalk.
So if you're, let's say you're rooting, who is the worst matchup for the Celtics? Because I think it's Orlando, and yet at this, I think Boston walks through Cleveland. I think they walk through Cleveland, but Orlando
can't score.
But I know it drives me nuts. They're so close. They're so fucking big, though. Like, that team looks like the Monstars out there, but they can't score.
They can't score. So
Cleveland really score compared to the Celtics?
They can't score either. That's the thing too. So I think that's
what I'm saying. So I would rather. Wouldn't you rather have Magic?
If I'm Boston, I rather play Orlando, because I feel like they can just
outscore them no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they might, because they're Boston, they might give away where everybody was going so crazy when Miami beat them. We see this all the time.
Yeah,
that happens all the time, and it just happens. And then look what they're doing to Miami, right? They've obliterated them since 3 games since. So, like, that happens and all that. So maybe they'll give up a game to Orlando because they just but. I think they're ready to play Orlando because of Cleveland's with their length and all that can bother them some. But either team, I don't think they're. I don't
think either team has a shot.
Yeah. I think they're lucky that they're the 1 seed and they don't have to worry about playing Philly or New York.
100%.
Those are tougher matchups.
Once we get through, because it's another 2 weeks, once we get through the injuries and see who's beat up, Porzingis looks like he might not come back.
He might. They saying he might be out for the next round too. So they might not see him. They say he might not play till the conference finals. Likely.
Like if for whatever, let's say in a perfect world, either I could. There's a scenario for either team, but we'll even say the Knicks. We'll say the Knicks, win this game, play. I'm assuming they're going to get through Indiana / Milwaukee, no problem, right? They get a couple of days off, then they get Boston. Let's say they're pretty healthy. They can throw all those bigs at Boston without Porzingis. Like now, like if Brunson gets hot, much like Jimmy Butler or somebody did last year, I think Boston has a legit concern. And I think the same thing with the Sixers. Like if somehow the Sixers, let's say they get to the next round, and let's say they don't have a tough series against the next team, and Embiid's feeling pretty good, and Maxey, it feels like we saw him turn the key the other night.
Mm-hmm.
Like now all of a sudden, okay, I'll say this out loud right now. Maxey's better than Jaylen Brown right now. I think he's a better basketball player than Jaylen Brown at this second. It might not be by much, but let's put it this way. If I had to draft one, I'd draft Maxey right now because of the scoring,
I think
the ball handling. We used to always gave Jaylen Brown so much credit for all the defense and all the other stuff. Well, they don't do that anymore. Can we be honest? Like, they just don't do it anymore. I'm not saying he can't, but he don't.
Yeah. Maxey just has that it factor to him.
And Brown really doesn't.
Yeah.
He's just, good place to
I think the fact that we saw Maxey in a game deciding, game like they needed they don't he doesn't
with
they don't
another
win that game.
Superstar on the court, by the way.
Yeah.
What did he do game 2? Went right to Embiid and was like, that was a mistake.
Yeah. He took it.
And he's never making that mistake again.
And that shot, if they win this series, we're gonna look back at that shot and be like, wow,
that was
like
it.
That shot tied the game and gave them an opportunity. They win that game,
Absolutely.
and now they're so we're gonna look back at that potentially. But I hope not personally.
Right.
I hope we're like, that was just a moment. But
what I'm saying is, like,
basketball wise,
the best game that Jaylen Brown's had, they lost. Yeah. I think it was game 3. Was it game 3 when he had like 11 points in a row, 3 threes in a row, and Miami beat him. The best game we've seen Jaylen Brown have in the playoffs, they lost.
Yeah, and the best game we've seen Maxey have, he saved their season.
Yeah, Maxey's.
And he put the team on his back when Embiid was. Listen, that fourth quarter, it looked like Embiid was trying to give away the game.
100%.
He had 9. He almost had a quadruple double, but for the wrong reasons.
With turnovers.
That. And he was just. You could see he's favoring his leg. And listen, he has the knee and all that.
Yeah,
he's favoring himself. So that's where. That's where
1.5 man team.
So yeah, he was at half himself. So for the fact that Maxey was able to put the Superman cape on, take it from Embiid and be like, I got you.
Yeah.
That's how you know you got some. Now,
I'm just saying,
if they lose a series, it's all for nothing. But if they win the series, we can go back to that and be like, wow.
I will say this,
was
though.
The moment. So.
Regardless of what happens, we're not going to do this show because we got all summer. Going into next year, you got to be happy that he's on like the Maxey's a team. Like, he's one of those dudes. He's an anchor of a team, no questions asked and all that. So, like, now you got a dude. That's next year. We'll talk about that this summer.
Yeah, and if you get the right pieces, if you're Philly and you just somehow figure out how to keep Embiid healthy for the playoffs, because at this point you don't care about the regular season.
Shout out to him coming back, by the way. I did not think he would come back for the playoffs, and he has been a dog.
I mean,
he's not perfect, but
he's done some stuff that's like, with the Mitchell Robinson but if I'm taking away the Knicks hat on and putting the NBA fan on
game 4 was fucked up.
Yeah,
he should have been thrown out, no question about it. They should
My thing is with that is like, okay, if you're gonna get Knicks fans are crying and blah, it's like no. That was not a basketball play. That's not a basketball play. So, and that's in the rule, right?
Both plays. There was 2 plays in that game that were
intent. Is intent, and if it's not a basketball play. Those indicate a flagrant 2, and you get thrown out. If it's game 1 or game 1 of the NBA playoffs, that's a ejection.
Yes.
Anything else? I understand hard fouls. If you want to eject someone in regular season, okay, I'm cool with that. But that was dirty.
The closest thing I can think of is when people complain about Draymond getting thrown out in that 2016 series. But I'd say the same thing as you. I'm like, don't hit people in the dick.
Don't do dumb shit.
Like, just don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, game 4.
He took the bait too. He took the bait too. So like, you have to,
game that was messed up by Embiid, and I didn't like it. As much credit as I give him, that I was upset about. He's nowhere near like my favorite player or any of that. But I like to give credit to a guy because we got so many of these guys that we complain about, like they're always hurt. They're always hurt. They're always hurt. Hey, he's there. Like, he's there, beat up.
I'll give him credit for that.
Post-game interviews it was some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard, but whatever, man. He is who he is.
The one thing, him complaining about the fans was funny.
And that's awesome. I mean, in a negative, like, it's awesome in a negative way.
You get it though, because Philly fans get this. Oh my God, we're such passionate.
Don't get me started about all the credit they get.
And then
nobody gives a fuck that you threw a snowball at Santa 50 years ago.
It's true though.
Like that doesn't make you great fans. You know what makes people great fans? The Knicks ain't won a title in 50 years, and they fucking love their team. They cheer for the team. They show up. They travel. They scream. They go over the top. They're absolute batshit crazy. Like, not that I'm saying Sixers fans aren't good, but I'm saying like Knicks fans have showed up. I got a question about Knicks fans.
Yes,
for Knicks fans. Something about the court didn't look right last night.
The court?
Like the painting on the court. Like I didn't like how it was decorated. It wasn't traditional. Like it didn't look like the traditional Madison Square Garden court. Do you think that cost them points? Because it upset me. And then and last week they're wearing like navy blue. I'm like, what are the Knicks doing? They're we talked about it. They're a blue blood. We talked about it a few weeks ago on the show. They're a blue blood. They're one of the premier franchises in all of sports. You got a perfect color scheme. You got a perfect logo. You got a perfect arena.
Oh, so like the shadow, like the court.
What are we doing with the alternate shit?
Yeah. That's kind of like the new thing. I think like the city.
Yeah, but the old thing's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like you. I like traditional. I like the logo in the middle. Like, I noticed. Yeah. They've done that all season. So
yeah, they need to stop that.
Yeah,
they need to get. I know
what you're talking about because I don't know. For some reason, I didn't really pay attention to the court. Like,
it bugged me all night. It bugged me all night. As
not the traditional Knicks.
As a '90s kid, I was like, "That's not the logo that I hate." Like, I want to be mad at this game. Like, I want to hate this court. I want to be mad about everything about it. And I'm like, and then when they wore the navy blues last week, like I was upset. I was shaken. So they need to get their shit together.
Hopefully,
wear the blues, wear the whites.
Hopefully.
Go out there, do your thing.
Hopefully they get it together, and this time next week we're talking about them playing whoever, Indiana or Bucks, but we'll see.
What do you think about the? I know we went a long time on the Knicks, but it's just been because it's been the best series. We talked about Cavs, Orlando a little bit. Let's admit it, Orlando's a year away. But Boncaro is one of them dudes, another one of them dudes with Edwards. It's just another great American basketball player that's cool to see. And I don't mean that as a racist thing. I just mean it's cool to see, like, that our country represented as well as the Europeans. He's awesome. He's awesome. Isaac's awesome. They just can't score, so it doesn't matter. I think they're a couple good moves away from being like, I tell you, if you like, it's not going to happen, but like if Jalen Brunson's on the Magic, they're a title contender. Like that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
so
that level player. Yeah,
they've built a great team. They're young.
That's why this offseason is going to be maybe the most craziest offseason in NBA history.
Yeah, because like we're no longer worried about like who can Kevin Durant get. We're going to talk about the Suns here in a second. I'm going to talk about what a fucking failure that was, and everybody saw it coming. But shout out to the Magic. Love what they're doing. Shout out to Timberwolves. Love what they're doing. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns and what a disaster it was. What a complete and utter disaster it is that you talked about being the dream team all year and you got swept by a 21-year-old. Can we talk about that?
When they made the move for Bradley Beal, I was like, okay. I understand. Okay, you're Matt Ishbia.
I don't understand it. Tell me why you understand.
I understand getting Kevin Durant.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That makes sense. I understand you want to make a power move. You go get Kevin Durant. You pair him up with Booker. I was like, okay, they put some good pieces. This is a championship team. Then they go for Bradley Beal. And then I was like, why? This doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't work, you're stuck because guess what he has in his contract?
Ooh.
A no
yeah,
trade.
They're a mess.
He's making I think he's making like $55 million a year.
It's something stupid.
It's crazy. He showed
they went and got a worse Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Like a guy that wants to be Devin Booker.
And he's been hurt for the last few years. And guess what happened this year? He was hurt for most of the year.
He can't like. Here's the thing. I want to be clear. I've heard Bradley Beal is an awesome dude and all that. This is all in the basketball that I'm talking about.
All basketball.
He ain't a point guard.
No.
He's not a dynamic scorer.
Not anymore.
He's a good scorer for a bad team. If you're a bad team, when they let you score in the regular season, he's a good scorer. He ain't a defender. If that's your third wheel, like it was destined.
But those days are done. Like you can't do. First of all,
Nope.
They should have known because with all the new CBA stuff that's going on, and how essentially the NBA is penalizing teams that want to do this big three stuff, and how
exactly.
how it affects you with as far as just
why would they do it?
Picking up just a buyout guys and all that. You can't even get that, or it just limits what you can do. I just don't get why they made the move. It just doesn't make sense. But
it never made sense.
It's just an owner, brand new owner, trying to put his stamp on a team, thinking that all right, big three. This is going to. Kevin Durant was not happy all year. You could tell he didn't like the offense, and then all the rumors of like, oh, yeah, you could tell. I don't even have to hear from him. I knew it. You could just tell he's just the offense was not favorable for Kevin Durant and all that, especially at this point of his career. It just the move that it makes sense, and then
you got to go get some. You got to get you said it earlier. You got to get dudes to where when you're not in the game, they come in and they just for 5 minutes just wreak havoc. And Phoenix never had that. It just and
relying on Eric Gordon, 36-year-old Eric Gordon.
Exactly. That's your dude.
That's
when there's all these kids out there playing so good,
and they have no draft pick. This is my thing. And when people say NBA, oh, these picks don't matter, picks are 20. No, that's the biggest lie someone can tell you is that basketball picks don't matter. It's the biggest lie in the world because they do matter. Because if you want to be able to solidify the end of your bench or a good chunk of your rotation, you got to look at OKC has done.
Oh,
it's shown. It's just I hate.
Really, I mean, OKC, Orlando,
Denver,
Cleveland's done pretty good. Denver, Boston. I mean, say what you want, but Boston drafted most of that team.
They drafted really well, and then they picked up some good pieces and all that. I see what my Knicks are doing. Like we've assembled a really good team.
Yeah, you guys have a ton of guys.
Out really, and maybe the previous regime we would have no picks, but Leon, they've been able to make smart moves. Scout really well, and still have maintained all their picks. So if they do want to make a splash, they could do that and still have picks over. But when you see what the Suns, the Lakers, all these teams have done is, listen, the Lakers won a championship. So it whenever you win a championship, whatever happens,
you kind of do whatever.
Every fan would want that, but it comes with risk, right?
Yeah, it
comes with massive risk doing that. So, and it's not like the NFL where like, all right, even if we don't have our first 2 rounds, if we hit on round 3, round 5.
Yeah, we've got 7 more picks.
We can.
The Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals drafted 12 players in the draft, this year's draft. So like, if 5 of them are good, you had a successful
hit, and
draft.
now you're good. Now, like the Rams,
that's 10% of your team. If 5
the
of them
Rams haven't had a first round pick in how many years, but they hit on their 3rd round picks, their 5th, their 6th round picks they've hit on. So you do that. Where in basketball, there's 2 rounds, and you have no picks. So how can you get younger and all that? The Lakers have shown they're old and all. Now they hit on Austin Reeves. That was a great find and all that, but. Phoenix has no one that you're like, oh, if he gets some, they have nobody on that team that's a young prospect that you're like, okay, in 2 years, give him like Philly. They had Maxey. Maxey was in the 20s.
Yeah.
We all knew, like we saw him, rookie year, okay. And then when Harden was there, we're like, if Harden's not there, this guy could be an all-NBA.
We watched Maxey towards the end of last year, and it was like,
we're like,
this dude's gonna be special. And then
Philly saw like, okay, we got to get rid of Harden because the only way for this kid to maximize his talent. OKC did that years ago with Houston did it with Harden when they like, you know what? There's something about this kid who's a 6th man for them.
Yeah,
we think he could be a superstar level player. And what happened? They trade for him. It sounded crazy at first. And he wound up winning an MVP. And obviously, he didn't win a championship, but
still, it worked.
They worked out for them. Right. So,
But also, but to your point, it worked out for OKC because they drafted the guy. And so they got something for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you draft and then a guy's really good and you can trade him, you know what I mean? Like, you're still getting something.
Suns have no picks till 2030.
Suns have nothing to work with except for
with a aging superstar Kevin Durant, with Devin Booker,
and Booker can't carry a team. I'm sorry, Booker is not. He's a certain type of talent, but he's not. He cannot carry a team to say 40 wins by himself like some of these guys can.
No, and so they're gonna have to figure out some things. Because if you're Kevin Durant
and you got Bradley Beal,
you got you can't let Bradley Beal be the reason why you don't. And it's just, I never understood the move, and it makes even less sense now. So it's just like,
we've given LeBron so much shit for all these years about like always manipulating his team and making it was always a criticism. Like, LeBron's actually the GM and all that. Well, maybe Kevin Durant at some point in the last, what's it been since 17 or 18, they won a championship. So it was 6 years since Golden State. Maybe Kevin Durant should have stepped in at some point and been like the Nets was a disaster. Phoenix is the disaster. Like, maybe stepped in at some point and been like, no. Like, LeBron would have never been like, yeah, go get Bradley Beal. Like, that's the guy. Get somebody that compliments you. Like, get other guys, you know what I mean? Like, say what you want, but the Lakers were good this year. The Lakers were a good team against the Nuggets, but they're not going to beat the Nuggets.
Oh, they're competitive,
but they were good. I think they were, if you told me starting the playoffs, I think they were, I don't think they're as good as Minnesota. They're not as good as Denver. They're better than Phoenix. Lakers would have beat Phoenix, I think, in a series.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers weren't that bad. They played. It's no different than when LeBron was at his height. There's a lot of good teams that it didn't matter because LeBron was like Indiana Pacers were good for a couple years. Didn't matter because you had to play LeBron James. LeBron James had to play Jokic, and it just wasn't happening. But the Lakers were a good team. And what I mean by that is, like, LeBron, all these movements and all the stuff they did and all the criticism, they had a decent team.
They were in every game.
Phoenix didn't.
Phoenix wasn't, and they obviously showed it, and they got swept. And it's a very expensive team to get to have no wins in the playoffs and get swept in the first by a team that you swept in the regular season. So that's why, like, when people
Minnesota built for playoff basketball. Shout out to them. I didn't think it would work.
Yeah.
I was, I knew Ant-Man was the dude. Gobert's played great. I thought Cat played pretty good in the series. We saw a couple times to where he thought he was Steph Curry in a playoff series, and it didn't work. He went to the bucket a lot. Some big rebounds. Like, I thought he played a good series.
It's the Timberwolves are they bought in this year, unlike last year. So whatever they did last year, they just did not buy in. Guys just don't like each other.
Exactly.
And this year, they just bought in. They like each other.
They just let Ant be like, "You're the dude."
Yeah.
Okay. So we can just have this conversation real quick.
They passed the torch from Towns' team, from Karl Anthony Towns' team. Now it's officially Ant Edwards' team.
This is going around. I want to shout out to my nephew Dylan, who texted me. It's probably been 4 months ago. He texted me in the middle of the night. We watched a Minnesota game, and he texted me and he goes, "I know we're not supposed to say this. This dude looks like Jordan." This was back in like January. Yeah. And he texted me the other night and he goes, "I just want to be on the record that I told you this is what it looked like when Jordan took over." And everybody's like, Jordan was a little older because of college, but Jordan's 25, 26 years old. And they're like, this guy's the team. This guy's the team. Like, get out the way, do whatever he says. And this series, credit to the Minnesota players for being like, we trust you. Because a lot of guys think that they're that guy, and then you let him try to be that guy, and it's a complete failure. But Ant was like, I got you. And
he has a chance. He has an opportunity to have
everything right. He played team game. Well, here's what I love about Minnesota as far as basketball wise. Just real quick, every time the other team feels like they got some momentum, Minnesota goes to the hoop and gets like a layup. that it's I don't know what, like, I understand it's because of Golden State, probably the teams are like, oh, we got to start shooting threes.
Yeah.
And Boston's starting to do it a little bit more. Like, the other team gets, 2 or 3 buckets in a row, just get a foul, get a dunk, get a layup, stop the momentum. And Minnesota was so great at that. Every time Phoenix even looked like they had a breath of life.
They've done side by sides with like with MJ and Edwards, and it's like
it's insane.
Oh,
it's fucking insane.
And I remember watching like some of his games last year and being like, I don't want to say it, but he's got.
I think we can say it 30 years later. I feel like we have to, at some point, we have to say it, right?
I just think it's so hard to say it because
I know
because of how the Jordan is such a mythical creature. And like,
there's
only been one person that we've truly compared Jordan to, and that's Kobe Bryant. And obviously,
and Kobe, the only reason we didn't talk more about it was Kobe was so close to Jordan, because Kobe was an absolute mirror image of Jordan. Yeah.
And we look
if anything, with the outside shooting, he was another level up. You know what I mean? But it's like, it was so close to Jordan that we couldn't just talk about it, because then you're like, well, now everybody's going to be Jordan. Well, now we realize, no, Kobe just was unique also. But I don't know. It's 30 years later. I think we can say that this guy reminds us of Jordan. Like, I watched Jordan play. I'm old enough. I watched Jordan play. You all can trust me. This is what it looked like. And Jordan didn't come out of college till 21. Jordan was barely playing at 21. This kid is he's different. He loves basketball. He loves competing. He loves the sport. Same with Banchero. I've been so impressed with how he's played, in the playoffs, as far as like taking it up a notch and learning how to play. And if we got to compare him to anybody, a little KD in him, or not KD, KG. Sorry. Banchero got a little KG, little toughness, little like, I'm nobody can guard me. I'm a bad matchup. Get rebounds, outside shooting. Like, I think if KG plays in a modern basketball, it looks sort of like what Banchero can do.
I think it's more, and I know we're throwing out.
Go ahead. I like comparisons are fun.
I think he's some playmaking away from having LeBron-esque type of.
Okay.
He's 6'10",
He's so big.
So he's bigger than most guys that are going to be guarding him.
Yeah.
And all that. He's just, once he figures out the playmaking, there's some LeBron in there. I know it's crazy to say, but wait, if we're going to compare Ant-Man to Michael Jordan,
why not?
There's something. It's not all there, but
he's special, man.
He's a very talented.
Kenneth's going to try again.
There we go. He got the McDonald's Wi-Fi. That's why.
No. I brought my laptop upstairs and it died, and so now we have it plugged in, and now we're ready to go. It was
welcome to the OG3, Ken.
Thank you for having me. I'm not quite an OG, but I figured I would hop on.
I'd say at this point, close
OG-ish. You're ish. You're there.
Yeah.
I was like the next era, I would say.
Yeah. you were the KD era.
I don't know if I want to be compared to KD, given how his career spanned out.
We were just talking about
we kind of talked about that.
We talked about like how it's essentially an end of it could be the end of an era with him, LeBron. I mean, Steph didn't even make the playoffs this year.
I don't even think it's a doubt that it's the next era's up. Like,
but I got a good conversation. LeBron, we don't know what LeBron's going to do, but LeBron's a little unique because he's LeBron. But I think KD and Steph still, just basketball wise, have like a spot. What's the best spot for Curry? Like, I'm saying, like, I don't know what he's going to do or wants to do. What would you want to see Curry do? Because in my opinion, I want to see a team just bring him in and say, shoot all you want. We'll worry about the rest of it. That's just my opinion. I just want one more year of Curry. I know he can still shoot. What do you guys want to see with these older dudes?
What I think would be an awesome move for Steph would be, and I know that the situation probably wouldn't happen because of who it is, but an Orlando situation where you've got all these young guys. You've got Paolo,
big guys,
Wagner. And what's their big need that we're noticing in the playoffs is
I said the same thing.
A guard who can make a bucket.
Literally any bucket.
I told my wife, who is a Cavs fan, we were watching the first game, and Orlando's putting up bricks after brick, and I was like, if Steph Curry's on his team, I think they win a championship. I said that, so
they'll be able to play on ESPN and not, Telemundo.
I honestly think right now, I don't know why players wouldn't flock to the East. Just, we know that the West for the next number of years, you're going through Jokic, you're going through this young mini team, this young OKC team. Yep. Luka, if he ever gets, I mean, Kyrie's playing well. Like, he does have help this time around, and he's just in a tough series now with the Clippers. But we're talking about all these teams that are great out West, and we're kind of just like Boston by default right now.
Yeah.
Because maybe if the Knicks had Randall, maybe if Embiid's at 100%, but I still don't think that those rosters are good enough to beat Boston.
Nah.
Because, yes, you're looking at Boston starting 5. You maybe go into the bench a little bit with them. But it's just, there's so much to beat with that team. And they're winning in spite of coaching, because I think that was a big question mark coming out of the playoffs last year was Mazzulla really it? Because they beat teams that they should, and then they ran into a little bit of adversity with the Heat, and they kind of folded early. I know that they fought back, but there's no reason why they should have lost to the Heat last season.
No,
no, absolutely no.
That game 7 is one of the worst things.
You got Heat guys at the network that they love Spoelstra, and they should. I think he's a phenomenal coach. Hard to believe he's never been coach of the year. And it's just Boston right now.
Yeah.
And you look at some of these teams, like the Pacers have their point guard, but I don't really know what else they can really do there. Like, I think Halliburton's good, but I kind of put him in that Brunson category, slight step behind him of, can they lead you to the finals? And I just don't know.
Can they win 4 games in the finals versus Jokic? That's
And if it's Minnesota, you got to beat Ant-Man and Towns and Gobert, and McDaniels is solid as a defender. If it's OKC, like, I know that that's going to be one of the links for KD all offseason. And I was watching a show the other day. I can't remember what it was. But KD is probably the only superstar ever where we're going to look at the end of his career and we're not really going to have a team for him, right? Because what he did to OKC, Golden State fans don't even really love KD like that. They're like, well, we won with him. We won without him. Like, it was great to have him those couple years, but then we won a championship without him anyways. So look at the Suns. They just got swept. He's not going to be known as an all-time Sun. So how does he redeem his player arc?
The only thing, we can't go back in time, and it's crazy. The only thing that KD that could have changed his path is if his toe's not on the line and they go to the finals and they win that. But they didn't in 2021. That's the only thing that would have put him on because just like LeBron winning in Cleveland put him at like such a different conversation. And KD played on 2 of the best teams that we've ever seen. Nobody cares. That doesn't mean he was bad or good, but it just is it's as far as a conversation wise, that's a real thing. And Curry,
that's the sad part. It's KD doesn't have a team. You're
Curry's
right.
Curry's got everything. Like, I just want to see him go somewhere. I think Orlando's perfect. And just shoot. Just give me one more season of just gun it. And let's figure out what happens. Because right now, like, any team left in the playoffs would love to have Steph Curry on it.
Yeah.
Like, he makes a difference on every team in the playoffs right now. Even Denver.
Yeah. It's the end of the garden. We're just seeing these young guys. Shea just swept. I mean, I know it was the Pelicans, but to show his first true playoff.
A young team to sweep like that. Most young teams go 6 games with the Pelicans.
Yeah.
Who was you guys most impressed with OKC? I thought Holmgren looked great.
Holmgren has been steadied. Jalen Williams to me.
You know what I kind of like about OKC is that they're not scared to tap into a young bench. Because you would think come playoff time that you'd start to lean on the starting lineup more.
Right.
But guys like Wallace coming off the bench, Wiggins coming off the bench, they don't give them like 15 off the bench. But when they come in and give you a valuable 25 minutes on both ends, they maybe score 7 points, couple boards, couple assists. There's a ton of value in that. And it's also why we're probably seeing the end of the super team era of just having 3 stars, because you can't win with 3 stars anymore and just offload all your role players. Even when the Heat won their titles, they had good bench guys. Norris Cole was coming in, and
Birdman, a big part of a couple titles.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but you also had
Norris Cole. That's the first time Norris Cole's ever been brought up in a Bosch. Love it.
Yeah, Norris Cole. Yeah, he hit some big shots.
Well, the thing was, Bosch was just willing to accept the lesser role, but do everything that they needed, and then they were able to just bring in these guys that would just come in and hit 3 threes when you needed them in a big game. And I just think that was Phoenix's biggest issue. Is I know Grayson rolls the ankle and whatnot, but they weren't winning that series with or without him, and it's. The roster was poorly constructed, and I think part of it is also you have a new owner that comes in, and it's the new owner syndrome. It's the new owner syndrome of I'm trying to make a splash. I want to be the new hot owner on the block.
And I've talked about this in pro sports too. We dabbled in this a little bit earlier, but I've talked about this. NFL is the most extreme example. Also, these owners, there's no punishment for it, because your team is worth more next year. Like, it does not matter the money you spend, the mistakes you make, how bad you are. Your team is worth more the next year because of television rights and stuff. So, like, everybody's like, why would a team do that? And blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't care. Like, at some point, you don't care. Like, they're worth billions. Like, Golden State's worth 10 times as much as when Steph got there. So if they make a mistake in whatever, there's something to fall back on, for that. So, like, the Phoenix owner, I'm sure, is like, that sucks, but I'm sure he's also like, I didn't lose a dime. Like,
he also probably sold a shit ton of tickets because he had Kevin Durant playing Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and it didn't matter if it didn't work because they bought the tickets before they even saw.
I feel bad for all the kids. I feel bad for the young kids that got Beal jerseys and then watched him play and was like, why didn't I? So I text my son. My grandson's only he's a year and a half old now. I text my son and I said, I just assume Ant-Man's going to be my grandson's favorite player. Like, I don't know who else you would pick right now in basketball if you're a young person.
Or Wemby.
Wemby also, but I think Ant-Man's just got that.
He's fun.
He's got the
like Wemby's great. Nothing wrong with Wemby, and he's going to be also very popular. But Ant-Man's, everything he does is a little more relatable. Like, if you're playing 2K, you're like, playing defense isn't near as fun as like the dunk and all that. So, like,
that's
just
the
attitude,
he has
funny
that
stuff he says. Mm-hmm. I think like Maxey, Ant, like, these guys are just like, they're so charismatic. I just think kids would love them.
Yeah.
Like, Maxey made a lot of fans last night. Sold a lot of jerseys this morning.
And you know how you know people love him? Knicks fans don't hate him.
Oh, that's true.
Knicks fans hate everyone.
With Ant. Everybody right now is like, and here's what's funny. A year from now, everybody's going to hate Ant because that's how it goes. We know that's how it goes.
If he was doing the DX chop after they were NBA champions, can you imagine? Because what's going to happen is
Joel Embiid did it last year and people hated it. Ant-Man does it and people love it. It's crazy.
Let's say that Minnesota then goes on to the next round and then they lose to Denver.
Yep, you know what's going on.
And you know what? Ant-Man had every right to do that. You just swept a quote-unquote super team. So you know what? If you want to talk your shit, if you want to do all that stuff, do it.
100%. I think it's great. I think
that might be the series of.
I think the NBA has kind of figured out. Like, I've said it for months now. The NBA's figured out how to ref. Like, they finally found that sweet spot to where, like, because you guys, I think you guys too, like, as guys that watch, I know you guys watch a ton of games. I love it now that I'm not nervous every crunch time, every physical play that it's going to be a foul and stop the momentum of the game or ruin the game, or the game's going to be decided. Like, we can actually have like loose balls and there's not a loose ball foul. We can actually have guys go to the ground, but it's not a foul. We can actually have blocks to end games or send it to overtime, and it's not automatically a foul right now. So, like, you don't get that. Like, we saw it in college basketball. We got so close to being perfect, And then right towards the end, they're like started calling some fouls that just like took away. The NBA is like, nope, we're riding this out. We're going to let these dudes play. And it's been so much fun that you don't have constantly have that apprehension. So that's been awesome that, that we've got to see these guys just play. Like,
they found the healthy balance of it's not 90 to 86, but it's also not 135 to 130.
Here's what I think the NBA wants: 100 to 100. I think that's their goal, is 100 to 100.
If you're in that,
I think they've
low
and with the
stars
playing.
But you know what's crazy? Like, people get so upset with the scores in the regular season. We're also dealing with good teams playing against really bad teams, so that's going to happen a lot. We all know once the playoffs happen, that changes. So when people get an uproar about the scoring tick, guys, when the Denver Nuggets play the Charlotte Bobcats,
what are they supposed to do?
What do you expect is going to happen when a really good team that's smart and everyone's a smart player plays against a team that is, only cares about the aesthetics and, about the money and all that? What do you expect is going to happen? It's going to be blowouts.
What do you think is going to happen when Boston's fifth best guy would be the best guy on the Charlotte Hornets?
What do you expect when Boston Celtics play the Toronto Raptors right now, or the Portland? It's going to be 150 to 1. So, like, when people get, the scoring, it's too much and all that. Luka dropped 70 on the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, because it's the Atlanta Hawks. He ain't doing that versus the Clippers. You see what happened against the Clippers. They'd be
in the playoffs
with him.
The playoffs is so long; it's a different season. Just like,
and you see the same team 4 out of 7 times. You're going to see a team at least 4 out of 7 times.
Yep.
So look at Brunson. Brunson has he had a good game, but he's been tested and all that.
Yeah.
Luka, like I said. So, like, we know the changes. So why do we complain about the regular season when most of these blowouts are against the Bobcats and I keep calling them Bobcats.
I think part of it has to do with most people who are basketball fans are also NFL fans. And NFL, you care so much, and you should, about every single regular season game. And then you're playing 3 or 4 times a week in the NBA. Of course, there's going to be blowouts. Of course, guys are going to take
back-to-backs. Like,
5 times as many games. What do you think's going to happen here? And they're not playing. Obviously, it's not as physical, but you're not playing both offense and defense in the NFL. Like, you're.
What's funny too?
I'm so glad you said that, Kim.
Yeah, but what's funny too?
The most underrated aspect of all this. These guys have to play both ways.
Yeah, Mahomes ain't playing safety.
Mahomes ain't playing linebacker. He doesn't have to go, rush the passer on 3rd down and all that.
I bet he could.
These guys could.
Out of all the quarterbacks, I bet Mahomes would be the best.
So that's so you have to save. And listen, we're in the world where, we've talked about this relentlessly. Like, we're in the world where the NBA has listened to their fan. Like, the NBA has always talk about champion. It's all about. The only thing we worry about is champion. We discredit James Harden's career because he didn't win a championship. We discredit Westbrook. We discredit LeBron's rings. He has 4 of them. One's a Mickey Mouse championship. 2 were with super teams, and the other one was,
Draymond.
That one's legit.
Draymond hit him in the nuts.
KD has 2 rings where he's a Finals MVP. That gets this. We always look for ways to discredit. So these players are like, hey. If the only thing that people care about is championships, well, that's what we're going to do. We're only going to worry about the playoffs.
Do you think that's also why we love this NBA playoffs so much?
100%. That's why.
Because none of these guys' legacies are even close to being defined yet. So we're just loving Ant-Man sweeping. We're loving Shea sweeping. We're loving, like, the Celtics and
these guys. These guys are going to be more. I think. These guys will be more beloved than KD, LeBron. This era of players are going to be more beloved. I think once LeBron is done, because LeBron is obviously the most polarizing player in NBA, maybe NBA history. As much as we love LeBron and what he's brought, I think, and this is not. I'm not trying to say that him not being in the league is bad. It's going to be good. But in a way it is, because then we're going to have more more logical basketball talk. We're going to go back to, because with LeBron, it's always, the GOAT. Oh, well, he's not MJ. He's not this and all that. We're actually going to get away from that, because when he's gone, there's no more talking about it. And then we actually will appreciate LeBron in 3 to 5 years, we're like, oh man, he was great.
Because we haven't found yet who that next great player is.
Yes.
And we also haven't found that next great player that hasn't won a championship yet.
So who do you guys? So who do we think?
Tatum will be.
I think it's Tatum and Luka right now are probably
Tatum and Luka,
that are the closest to us turning on them. They haven't won a ring, and it'll happen with Tatum this year.
I think Tatum, this is it.
That he has.
Tatum has to win a championship.
But if Luka, let's say he loses this first round series, it's going to turn on him as well.
Yes.
It's going to turn on him very quickly because they're going to say, well, you got Kyrie with you. You've got these young guys around you. Like
you won the scoring title.
Leonard, Kawhi's not even playing.
Yeah. So why can't you win this series? You're playing against Harden and Westbrook, these serial playoff chokers that people make them out to be. And it's like, God forbid those guys ran into the Warriors and they ran into LeBron. Like,
I think Tatum, Luka, they're playing against Ghost, so to speak. I think we're
probably.
I think that might be the only.
Those are the only two guys really that are playing against like you said, the Ghost.
Yeah. And Tatum definitely is. Like Tatum,
I think Tatum's ahead of Luka.
To win a championship.
Yeah,
I think Tatum is above Luka simply because he's been to conference finals how many times? And the finals where Luka has only been to the conference finals, and he hasn't had the team that Tatum has. Tatum has had he's had Kyrie type teams. He's had obviously Jaylen Brown. He's had this iteration of Boston, so he's had like championship worthy teams, and he hasn't yet done.
And I think we've already.
Hasn't had that yet.
And again, because of injuries and all that, like we're not even talking about what's going on with Lillard and Giannis.
And Embiid would be there too if he wasn't dealing with Embiid.
But people give Embiid the pass because of the injuries.
Which I don't know if that's
which isn't fair because
you're right. He does.
We're going to be grading everyone on this same curve, and we're talking about the MVP of the league. Tatum's never won an MVP. Luka's never won an MVP. And it's not as if Embiid hasn't had help. He had
Embiid might not win.
He's got this. He had the iteration with Harden. Now he's got the iteration with Maxey. Like at a certain
point, if Embiid doesn't make it out of the first at 30 years old, MVP, Embiid doesn't make it out of the first round. Like
Bill Walton,
that should be some talk.
Bill Walton.
Oh my god.
Bill Walton, it's crazy how similar their careers are. No, Bill Walton won a championship and all that. It's think about a great big who got derailed by injuries, was an MVP. It's kind of Bill Walton-esque. It really is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that is true. Another thing I've noticed about these playoffs is like the true old-fashioned point guard really is kind of gone in this playoffs.
It's dead.
That's
you still need one, but you don't need one to be your.
You would love to have one
as a backup,
but it's weird that as something like that. I grew up for so many years of being like, you need a guy that comes up the court. He's going to be 6 foot tall. He's never going to shoot the ball. He's going to bring it to the top of the key, run the offense, and all this. Like it's just kind of gone.
Yeah, that's an exact stumble.
You know what I mean? Like anybody runs the offense, and a lot of that started. I mean, it's been years ago. A lot of that started with Scottie Pippen and the Bulls, the point forward position. And it was weird. It was such a, like, you guys don't remember, but it was like such a big deal that like, oh my gosh, Scottie Pippen's bringing the ball up. And then they realized like, well, that's a matchup nightmare.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of the end of like Greg Anthony and, Stockton and those guys. It was the beginning of the end. And now I look and I'm like, I don't know who's a point guard anymore. It's just like I don't know what's
probably
happening.
The closest thing that we have to a point guard.
That's fair.
Because he's averaging what, like 18, 20?
Mike Conley.
Conley. But
he's
at least
the last of them,
like with Halliburton, he is truly trying to get everyone else involved.
He brings the ball up. Yeah, he actually has the Conley really doesn't have the ball.
Turner, like he's getting it to Mathurin, like they're trying to incorporate all these
run
other guys
offense,
and he knows that he can go and get 25, but he kind of sucks. He's done it a lot in this playoffs where you look at his box score at the end and it's like 16 points with 12 assists and like 7 rebounds.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that's a pretty good game, but he's also supposed to be the
That's
the
fair.
face of the Pacers. And if he's not going to score, then Siakam is going to have those 30-plus point nights and be the guy at times on the score.
I really like Siakam just as kind of a dude. I just kind of like Siakam. Like, he just seems like a guy that's like, I really want to play basketball. I don't even know.
He's
like,
a good guy to have, not only because
of
how good scoring wise. People would discredit him because of the ring that he got with the Raptors. He's a champion at the end of the day.
That was a great ring, by the way. I honestly think that's a great ring.
He was on countless Raptors teams that went to East Finals, that went to the finals and
played LeBron.
And if they got LeBron.
Well, and as a Bulls fan, had a guy in DeMar Rosen that like refuses to shoot a 3-pointer in the 3-point era of the NBA. Like, don't even get me started on DeRozan and the issues.
Oh, I think it's bigger than DeRozan in Chicago.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like,
bigger.
Here's our savior, the mid-range guy. That's what we need.
The issue that you have in Chicago is it's just a lot of B, C caliber guys.
It is the worst, one of the worst built teams in the NBA. It makes me, it's disgusting. It's a terribly built team.
It has to be a true teardown, but it probably needed to happen last year if you were going to maximize the value, because now, like, what's the market for DeMar DeRozan?
Nothing.
DeMar he's
you still have Zach LaVine. We need Zach LaVine on a max deal too.
He's basically the same value as Klay Thompson this offseason, which is not a lot.
It's not
because a team signing up for them is getting Klay shoots threes, but you're getting a high volume shooter. He is a better passer than when
you're getting a high volume shooter that you don't want to give the ball to.
High value mid range shooter in the 3-point era of the NBA. He is a good distributor. I'll give him that. He's improved a lot, and I think that a lot of that had to do with his years in San Antonio, because he used to just shoot 30 times a playoff.
When he went to San Antonio, he was a good passer, and then he went to Chicago and reverted back to Toronto.
Well, who the fuck would you pass it to?
That's the thing.
Why would you pass the ball?
White and
anyway.
I think Chicago's just it's a tough one as well. I know that Lonzo being there doesn't change a lot, but it was a team that at the very least felt like
there was a chance.
Yeah,
I think
there was a really good chance.
Chicago,
they
Washington,
looked good when he was healthy.
There's no upside. I don't know what Chicago and Washington, like teams like that. Like, what's your plan here,
Jeff? You know how you said like it's like bottom of the barrel with Chicago, right? The Washington Wizards have entered the chat.
They're so bad. They're so hopeless.
If you said, Chris, we're going to give you the GM job of the Washington Wizards, I would be like, I'm going to continue selling tools. Does not do it. I don't want that job. You guys have ruined this job.
Because you have to give up your current job knowing that you've only got 18 months.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing
I might get fired by the draft.
Getting fired.
I'm going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. There's not going to be a true blue chipper. So I was like, damn, I have the number 1 pick in the wrong year. Oh, this sucks.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes me laugh when you see, this college coach, he might make the jump to the pros. It's like, why? Why would you leave that program to go and coach the Wizards?
If you're a college coach, no college coach should ever leave to go to the pros. It's just stupid.
There's a reason why the Raptors hired a European guy. He probably had no clue how bad the Raptors really were when he took the job. Seriously.
The Wizards.
Scotty Barnes a superstar midseason, and we're like, we've won like 15 games, coach, so I don't know about superstar talk.
No. That word is also being thrown around a lot. Way too much to my liking.
Because there's only about 5 real superstars. 5 to 8.
I might have to redo my superstars and all that. I might have to redo my superstar, who's in that club, but that word gets thrown. Like Brunson has gotten that, and I don't like that.
How good's Murray? We haven't talked much about Denver. How good is Murray?
He's
so
Julian
good.
Edelman. He's Julian Edelman.
Whoa. Wow.
When the playoffs happen, he shines the brightest. But the regular season, he's always going to be like, damn, man, I want him to be an all-star, but he doesn't have all-star numbers, and he's not better than this guy.
Part of that is just the system that he's in, because if you're Denver...
He also gets hurt a lot, so that hurts him too.
Yeah, I know he had like shin splints and stuff, but I think at a certain point we'll turn the corner on him, and it could even be next year where you're looking at it and it's like, man, Denver's the 1 seed again, and Murray's.
Well, we thought it this year too, like because they were 1 seed for a lot of the season. So it's like, all right, is he going to be an all-star? I thought he was going to be a lock all-star this year, and it didn't happen.
Wow, I need to watch more because I don't get to watch a lot of it's Denver's one of those teams during the regular season. Like I know how good they're going to be, so I don't really spend a lot of time really caring or watching. So
I only followed their seeding because I was curious of where the MVP was going to go. Right. Because it was between him and Shea for me all year. So I'm like, well,
when he looks good, the Edelman comparison is pretty good. So I know we won't be on here much longer. So can Denver lose a series, and why?
Minnesota.
Because I'm starting to think that they can, but I don't really know why.
Minnesota's the only team that can throw the size needed to make Jokic work. Because I hate the term "shut him down" because it's like you don't shut down.
You're like when they used to hold LeBron to a triple double.
Iguodala really shut down.
Remember when Iguodala held LeBron to like
LeBron's passing a Dellavedova and he's still averaging a triple double, and yet gets in Finals MVP for slowing down LeBron.
It's because they can give so many looks at Jokic because it could be Towns, it could be Gobert, they could throw McDaniels on him, could throw Anderson on him at times. So because you can throw so many different looks at them, that would be the roster to do it. But if you're looking at some of the other teams, like Dallas doesn't have a lot of size. If they get through the Clippers, like Zubac,
I don't think Dallas that would have a chance.
Zubac would be a horrendous matchup for them.
Whoever wins the series is going to the finals.
OKC could throw Chet at him, and that's it for me. And even that, you're young guy. Jokic has got the.
But they have nobody else behind them. That's the thing with OKC. It's Chet,
and most teams don't. That's what
they can do it because they have.
I think it's Minnesota or bust.
And the switch too. They can switch up.
What I can see with Minnesota is like everything Ken said. If you can just get in Jokic's way. Just get in his way, that I think Ant can take advantage of the other dudes. Yeah. And maybe if you tell me Ant averages 30 and Jokic averages 24, maybe Minnesota
I listened to Redick talk about it today. He said if you're playing Denver, you have to make Jokic work, and you live with Aaron Gordon shooting threes.
Yes, 100%.
Because that's the shot that you're going to be willing to give him. And he may have a game or two where he knocks him down, but that's not his shot. And that's going to be the look.
Exactly.
We just saw the Lakers do it. I mean, the Lakers pushed them to 2-game winners, and they lost, but I'm saying AD and them did everything they could do, but somebody going to if they make those final shots, what do you do with a team that can beat you by 30 and get the game winner? It's a tough matchup.
It's going to be, whoever wins this is going to the final.
I love this series, though, by the way.
This is going to be a fun series and all that. And like you said with Gordon, make him what I hate about defensive.
Has Minnesota already had a successful season? Are they on house money right now?
Because if you saw what happened last year, and they look like a completely different team.
If they get swept by Denver, as long as they play decent, I think they've had a successful season.
I think as long as you push it to 5 or 6, you call it a success. But if you get swept, then you're like, Ant-Man came a long way, but
you're still far away.
But then because then it's not just Ant-Man improving another year. Then you need.
I think as long as they keep it competitive, if they win one game, and kind of like what the Lakers did last year.
I mean, they played them well last year. Minnesota played them good last year.
I think Minnesota right now feels,
and they were a disaster last year. Minnesota.
If I'm Minnesota and I just had come off this series and saw that next step that Ant took, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel good about what's going on, as opposed to we talked about Boston. Does not matter what they do until the finals. Nothing they do. They can sweep the next 2 series. Nothing matters until we see what they do. That's where Minnesota can be like.
There's 2 things that I'm hoping for in this series, and Chris will know why I feel this way. The one is that Denver wins the series, and 2 is that the refs do a good job this series.
You know what's the funniest thing about that? When people at refs, when they at the NBA, what is it, NBA refs or whatever the ad is. I laugh. Do you?
It's especially funny when you're dominating a series and you're adding the refs, and it's like, okay, we get it. Like they're already dead, so you don't need to.
It's just goofy. You're goofy. If you at the refs, it's 12,
but if the refs didn't screw us, we would have won by 19.
Yeah, we should have won by 30.
Should have won by 30. Like I just find that very hysterical.
I'm saying it right now. I know it's not perfect, but I still keep saying it.
Refs are solid right now.
It's been
I don't have
fucking awesome to not get every game ruined, like by players either being out or late calls or any of that. Like
they
for everybody
the balance of not over calling, but also not under calling it. It's a healthy medium of.
I think it's.
You know what? Awesome. You know how hard it is to ref basketball? It's the hardest sport.
But here's what we said: how many times, like for years, we've literally us guys have had this conversation about. Here's the thing: if the refs like they always, it was always put on the players, like the flopping. Remember when they kind of stopped the flopping? They're like, okay, that's enough. It was like 2 seasons of like the Harden flop and all that. And like
Lowry and all that. Yeah.
Here's what's funny: what the players adjust immediately. So as soon as the refs, stop calling the ticky tack, it took like 2 weeks. Now the players, like even now in the playoff games, like there's a loose ball. And they think there's a foul. They're not even crying about it because they're like, oh, it's just how it is now. It took 2 weeks to adjust to all this, and it's awesome. Like that's what I've always said. Like it wasn't going to take 4 years to fix this. Exactly, it took minutes. Even in college basketball, it took minutes to fix because the players were like, okay, that's how it's going to be. That's how we're going to play now. And then now what you got too, though, is the physical players like, McDaniels, Gobert and these guys that play physical. Oh, guess what? They're allowed to play basketball now. That's fun. Let's let the tall guys play basketball now. And that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. I've never been one to harp on refs and all that. Like, cause I try to be like a realist and like, we're trying to dictate if a 6'0" guy, because he falls on the ground, that's a foul. No, maybe because that
was little. The biggest problem is like, yeah, exactly. Like when the guys were rolling around on the ground, they're like, that must be a foul. We got to start calling it. Now, you know what they do? They just, Chris, as well as I do, that shot that Brunson took the last second shot in regulation the other night, and he's rolling around on the ground. Last year, maybe the last 5 years, that's a foul. And he's shooting free throws, game's over. There's no overtime. Because they would have just been like, that's a foul. As soon as the guy rolls around on the ground, it's a foul. And here's what I liked about it. The refs didn't call it. All the players walked away, and Brunson didn't complain. He's like, yeah, I'm good with it. Like, that's how we know that we found a happy medium. Because I'm telling you, last year, we'd all be pissed. He was like, seriously, it's going to come down to free throws? How many times have we said that? So I love it.
Yeah, I hate complaining about the refs and all that. Like, it's just.
I've said this
in the duration of a game.
You guys know how many times I've tweeted this. How you feel about the refs is who you're rooting for. I don't care.
It's 100%.
I don't care what sport.
Betting interest as well gets involved.
You're 100% right. Yep.
It's betting interest and team interest. If you're a Knicks fan, you're going to view it. You guys see the timelines.
Because the thing is, your team.
Game 2, y'all was cool with that.
Exactly.
Game 5, a little different.
Yeah, your team goes down, they miss 3 shots in a row, and then they commit a foul, and then you say these refs are hosing us.
Refs.
Like, no, you're shooting 38% from the field. That's why you're losing this game. It has
Josh Hart is missing free throws.
Nobody. The refs have called.
Yeah, Dante DiVincenzo's 3 of 11 from the field.
Like, they need to call more fouls, even though 365 days ago I was complaining because they called too many fouls. Like,
exactly.
It doesn't matter what sport.
And especially in the NBA, like I said, it's fan base, and sometimes it's hard to get that out because you want the calls to go your way because you want to win the game. Obviously,
it sucks. And I'm not saying there's not bad calls.
But if you're a fan,
I'm not saying there's not bad calls.
Yeah, but you guys know me. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm part.
I don't really know how you're keeping it together. We did a podcast the other night while the Knicks were playing.
Don't leave. You sometimes you would.
Oh
yeah, I did. Like, I'm doing one while the Knicks are playing. So like. I try to be like and down the middle and all that. So I don't look at it like I just but not all fans. It's fandom. I get it.
It's going to be all right, though.
It's going to be all right.
Also, before we end the show, can we pour one out for the Miami Heat season?
Heat culture, baby.
What is it? What's going on?
91-62.
They're a lot.
That feels right.
Remember when everybody overreacted because they won the game and Spoelstra was the greatest thing since slides? Oh, that was fun.
I'm glad that they won a game. I am, because it's unfortunate that we didn't get Butler for the series. But I think when you look at the box scores at the end of the series, you know that even with Butler in the lineup,
they had no shot.
Boston destroyed. It was never a series. And I do feel bad. Like injuries suck. Like they do.
That's
You're
basketball.
The finals run, and it was probably one of the better ones that we've seen of a low
most unlikely run of a basketball team I've ever seen.
And I don't want to discredit it, because it's like, look, they were shooting well at the right time, and
unbelievable.
They played great culture, baby, to get there, and now it's
the culture.
You come back down to earth when you're just not
culture. There. Nothing makes it's crazy. You know how bad it was? I can't stand Heat culture so much that they had me rooting for the Boston Celtics. Like seeing them getting annihilated.
I got mad
so happy
because of what happened to Chicago the last 2 years in the play-in. My son's a Heat fan, and I text him. I'm like, not this year. Like I want him to get drilled. I'm done with it. I'm not bitter about that, because I really don't care about the Heat. But after 2 years of the play-in and them beating Chicago and all that, I'm like, I kind of just want to see him get drilled.
Yeah. Oh, I was rooting for Boston when Boston lost game 2. I was like,
I do. I'm a little upset that I took Miami at plus 22. I thought that was a safe bet. That's on me.
You lost some money there, because but yeah, we cannot talk about the culture no more.
Not with this team. I still like a couple of the guys on that team, but I mean,
they got some talent. They got some.
You're out,
man. I think Bam. If anything, Bam looked really, really good this series. For whatever it's worth, I think he looked like a legit I
don't know what to make of what Tyler Hero is.
He's not it.
And trust me, I'm not saying that I thought that he was going to be a superstar, but I truly don't know what he is in the league right now.
Yeah,
because he's not a guy that you want to pay a lot, but he's a guy that's going to command a lot. And
he's one of those guys that you just like. He's like RJ Barrett. Like they can.
I heard that name in a while from Chris.
Like
you've been keeping that
one
up
north. You forgot about him once he.
You've been keeping that one way down.
I was like, I was going to drive him to Canada.
When this network started, we had more RJ Barrett conversations than I would have ever guessed. We talked about him so much.
Oh, man. Yeah, but he's that type of player where it's like, they can get 20, 21 a game, but it's like, do I really want them to? As my 1 or 2 option, do I want them to be like a 20?
It's because you look at his box score at the end of the game and you say Hero played well, but you can't point to a part in the game where he truly changed the game.
Right. He's more of a 6-man. I think he's more of a 6-man.
I think he would benefit from playing like Lou Williams did.
I think that's what I don't think he's
can't be that with that Heat roster, how it's constructed.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't feel like a Miami Heat player. He doesn't.
No, Jimmy loves him, but I don't know.
But also, let's be honest, they played Boston.
Yeah.
They played Boston without Jimmy Butler. Like whoever played
the Knicks, if you're playing the Pacers, if you're playing any number of these teams, you could have maybe been competitive over 5 or 6.
I think they would have beat the Pacers or the Bucks.
Maybe take the regular season more serious, and you would have played the Knicks.
Yeah, exactly. When you leave yourself, and this is the same with the Lakers, when you leave yourself at the mercy of the play-in, you can't complain when you get Denver.
Exactly.
If you won more games, you could have maybe got the Clippers.
I sincerely think
and had a shot. I
sincerely think the Lakers could beat OKC because of matchup issues in a 7-game series.
They could have had a shot,
but I don't think they could ever beat Denver in a 7-game series.
They were never an NBA champion contender this year.
That's fair. That's fair. No, that's fair.
Felt like if they got the right matchup, they could get through the first round. But then they're probably going to run into Minnesota or Denver.
And then they're going
to get bounced.
Yep.
So,
and that's fair.
as a Laker fan, when you know that they don't care about the regular season, you don't care about the regular season.
That's fair.
And you lose in the first round, and then everyone's complaining.
And then you
all
go,
that.
okay, well, we lost in 5. I expected to lose in 4. So
Yeah, I can't believe we only
can't
lost.
believe
in
we won
5.
a game this year.
We almost didn't get swept.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, take the regular season more serious then you wouldn't have this issue. But hey, regular season doesn't matter though. So, everyone now the thing is, oh, you just get in. Like baseball or the NFL, like you just got to get in. That's not how it works.
No, I don't think so.
And basketball is not how it works. You got to seat up so you can get home court advantage or something. Like you got to seat up. But hey, those teams didn't do it, and that's why they're both bound.
I think if you take the Lakers and the Golden State and combine them for a team, I think they can do some damage in the NBA playoffs. But separately, this was what it was going to be.
The problem that you have with the Lakers is that one night Austin Reeves goes for 25, and then Russell goes for 25 the next, and then Rui goes for 25. And then you talk yourself into all 3 of those guys are 20-point scorers.
It's never going to happen.
Then you get to the playoffs, and then Laker fans are shocked. How did these 3 guys only come in for 31 points?
I can't believe Russell.
That guy.
They're not. And what sucks is I think this was probably AD's best season overall. And it was, I won't say wasted, but it didn't matter. And I think he played a really, really good season.
And AD really,
I think he's really good.
Like what's crazy is they still talk about how AD hasn't lived up to it, and he's won a ring. Like it's not like he through all of this.
It's ridiculous. First of all,
he's really good.
He's really good as is. Like, okay, maybe he's not Tim Duncan offense.
He's not a Olajuwon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not that's okay though. Like, stop it.
What hurts him is that he's never been defensive player of the year, but he's always second. He's always third. So he's always been a good.
He's not even on the top 3, which he should have been. He really had a really good.
He's
for
fantastic.
Years, it was Gasol won it, and then it was the Gobert train, and it's like you look at year after year, he was second, third, fourth, and then
Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year while
didn't make the first team.
He didn't make all defensive second team.
The dumbest thing to ever happen in NBA history was to have the
LeBron finished second, finished first, and was all defensive first team. It didn't get it. That will never make sense.
Here's the thing about that too, and I'm not trying to act like I'm smarter than the voters or any of that. But what you see about this a lot is it's no different than a really good cornerback or safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
You like if you're avoiding AD, that counts on defense, but it's not a stat.
Yeah, you know, it's like Darrelle Revis when Darrelle Revis lost Defensive Player of the Year to
you just don't throw
Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson had the stats.
Yeah.
But if you look at the stats, it's like, nobody's throwing to this man.
Like
nobody's throwing to Revis.
If you design your offense not to go at AD, it's not going to. You're not going to have.
The problem is, and that's the whole.
They're not trying.
The problem is that we don't have we don't know what defensive player to award it. We don't have a criteria.
No, it's a mess.
We don't know.
It could be Gary Payton.
Analytics driven.
It could be Gary Payton or Marc Gasol.
People look at the blocks at the end of the year and did you win a lot of games, and that's
what I'm saying.
Is your team top in defensive efficiency?
But also don't score too much, because if you score too much, then they're like, nah, he couldn't have been defensive player of the year.
Yeah, wait, he averaged 24. He clearly didn't prioritize the defensive end.
He clearly wasn't a defensive player. He has to average 5 points a game.
When they say that with Luka, I get so mad. I'm like, all right, so let Luka worry about more defense. Let him drop 10 points a game, and let's see him, then get that player. Let's see how much you love that.
Concentrate on defense.
And then you'd be like, oh, why isn't he scoring? Well, you wanted him to play more defense.
Because that's what we think about when we think about the Mavs is defensive stalwarts.
Defensive stalwart. That's why I go to the games, because I want to see Luka be a defensive stopper.
The franchise was Dirk Nowitzki for 20 years, and we're going to talk about defense.
I want to see Luka slap the floor. That's all I care about.
I want to see him in a full press. I want to see him press Westbrook.
Remember the press in basketball? Is that gone?
Essentially, yeah.
It's kind of gone because guys are 7 foot tall and they'll just dunk on you if you press them.
Because now you got you got Jokic who can pass it to anybody. So it's like,
how would you press in the?
You could press when Bill Cartwright had the ball in the backcourt, but you can't do it when it's
Jeff. You could press when there's one guy.
Oh my God, Charles Oakley's got the ball. He's crossing half court. Like, okay, awesome. He's gonna dribble it off his foot, and then
you had one guy who could do anything on the court, and everybody.
Can you imagine trying to trap now? Like you would give up 170 points if you tried to trap now.
This isn't high school.
Yeah.
This isn't high school where like there's a rent like the freshman who can only dribble to his right, and you're like, oh, we're pressing him.
There's maybe a dozen players in the league now at the center position that can't dribble at most.
Right.
And
or shoot, or even shoot.
Like Gobert, like you press Gobert.
They're shooting 40% from 3 and averaging 2.5.
Even if
you got Joel Embiid,
Gobert just reaches up over everybody.
Like it's a different type of basketball.
I can't believe we just fixed basketball. That was fun.
We fixed it, and we only talked basketball today. There was a bunch of other stuff we could talk about, but that was fun. Before we go, we're gonna say what's on your mind. So Ken, what's on your mind right now? Anything?
What's on my mind right now?
Good, bad. What's bothering you? What do you like? Anything in the world of sports or anything in period?
I'll be honest, I've been so bogged down by work over the last week that I haven't really got to appreciate like basketball. I was able to watch a little bit on the weekend, but not very much. And I think I just appreciate those nights where you don't have anything going on. And I really don't care if it's Magic Cavs. I know we clown the series. That
was a good game last night.
But I'm happy to sit down and just watch a playoff game and know that it's going to be pretty competitive. And I know that neither of these teams can win the title, but I don't particularly care at that juncture. And I think that's why I was excited for the series coming in, because you could point to the majority of series and you feel like you know how it's going to play out. And I've gone back and forth on Magic Cavs for the last week and a half.
And to your point, Ken, that's why I love the NBA playoffs. Just let yourself watch the game and don't care about it. And especially if you don't have a lot of those like storylines that we've talked about tonight, like you don't have the LeBrons or the Currys or whatever, and just watch a game. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, this is fun. Like that Cavs Magic game was fun. Neither one of them was winning the title, but I really enjoyed watching it.
You'll be lucky to win a game in the next round, and it doesn't.
Yes, that's we talked about that earlier. Like but you know what? It doesn't matter. They're playing hard. We're watching these guys grow up. You know what I mean? Like
I liked seeing a guy like Garland go off, and then Franz Wagner has a great game, and you're like, man, maybe he's going to be somebody. And then it's Paolo another night. That part of it has been a lot of fun.
Just actually watching the sport. It's weird if you just watch the sport sometimes how much you like it. That's true.
And I mean, like don't get me wrong, I've been betting on it. So
don't get me started there. That's a whole different ballgame.
I took a break for the fact that I've won 7 out of my last 8 NBA plays. So I'm on a heater on that, but I haven't even had a chance to really watch. And there's nothing more exciting than that you're busy, but you still have some action on it.
Yes.
And I'll give you guys a funny one. The other day, it was the OKC game, and I don't know why. I was going through Betalytics, use code OTBN, I think is our code for them, 25% off. And they had Aaron Wiggins. It was 4.5 points, which is the most are you freaking kidding me? You're betting 4.5 points. He was sitting on 4 points and scored on the final play of the game to get the 6. And I'm not even watching the game because I'm on the golf course. And then I just look and I think the bet's dead. And then you look and you're like, Jesus Christ, you got to.
So the bottom line is betting super healthy. I'm definitely take it from somebody. Take it from somebody who's betting on Korean baseball every morning at 5 a.m.
Spanish basketball.
It's just exhilarating.
When you start worrying about the Russian ping pong at 12:30 at night, then that's when you call the number. That's when you opt out. Yes. You can do the 24-hour cool down. You know what? Maybe I'm a little too deep into this right now. So.
Yes. Yeah, I had to take a break because I had the Knicks in the playoff. I can't be betting and then worrying about the Knicks. That's bad for my. It's bad. I already have massive anxiety as a human being. I'm going to add betting and the Knicks playoffs to this. No.
But you already have the vested interest in the game. The fun part is when I don't care about Rui Hachimura tonight.
Yes.
But I'm going to bet over 3.5 rebounds. And then you
Yep.
watch him butcher a couple layups and he keeps getting all the offensive boards and you go, damn it, I knew that was the play tonight.
I love betting over under blocks for like a guard. Over under half a block for a backup point guard. That's my favorite.
It's plus 220 and he comes into the game and immediately blocks Tyrese Maxey for no reason. And
you're like, son of a bitch. But that's up to everybody whether they want to bet or not.
Over under 1.5 assists for Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs. And
yeah.
Start
Dude throws
like
an
Jokic.
I kept betting DiVincenzo on the assists, and I had to cool off because 2.5 assists is just not.
That is a bad number. That's a bad number.
Because he finishes with 1 or he finishes with 5, and there's no in between. Brutal.
And then he doesn't play in the fourth quarter because Tibbs gives him Levi. Jeff, what's on your mind?
Here's one that Ken might like. And I don't know how I feel about this, but I get tired. Like, so every year the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs start at the same time, which I love it. I love them both going on at the same time, the same night, alternate. But it's just the consensus that every year it's like, hardest championship to win in sports, the Stanley Cup. And it's always just been a given. Hardest championship to win, Stanley Cup. And then I'm like, well, why? Because they skate instead of run. I don't really understand why it's so much harder.
It's one position.
I just, it's goalie.
Yeah.
But I don't know I guess like I've never played hockey. Mm-hmm. And I assume it's hard to play and you got to be athletic. I'm not even saying that, but I don't know why it's just a given that the hardest championship to win in sports is the NHL Stanley Cup, except for somebody said it one time and they're like, that must be it. It's like all these things that Bill Parcells said back in the 80s, we still say in football. And we're like we still say defense wins championships. It's actually not true at all. Like offense has won the last, I don't know how many Super Bowls. And we're still like, defense wins championships. We're like, actually it doesn't.
I think it's.
I'm just saying basketball is hard to play too, is all I'm saying. I don't know that I'm not saying that if you win, I think if you win a Stanley Cup, that's super hard. But I don't know why, because it's cold, then it's harder than playing basketball, because playing basketball is hard too. I don't know what they think basketball players do, but it's hard.
I think
that's all I'm saying.
Because with baseball, we know the payroll disparity is so large.
The that's a whole different thing.
So we can.
It's definitely harder than baseball.
The quarterback position, if you have an elite quarterback in the NFL, then you're going to be in it every single year. In basketball, it's kind of the same. I mean, for the longest time, it's if you have LeBron, if you have Kobe, then you're always going to have a shot at winning.
But you still have to win 16 games.
Yeah. But when it comes to hockey, it's Connor McDavid, who is considered the greatest player probably since Crosby, and if not Crosby, then Lemieux. Yeah. The guy still hasn't even been in a Stanley Cup final. Right. And it's just the roster construction of the NHL is so hard to do, because you could have a great goalie and you go into a series with an average goalie that just gets hot. It happened with Florida last year. They had a career journeyman that suddenly just stands on his head, and you're like, why the hell are the Florida Panthers beating the President's Cup trophy winners in the Boston Bruins? And then they're beating the Leafs, and then they're beating whoever. And you're like, how is this happening? Florida is not that good. Yeah. And I think that's why you just get so many relatives.
You know what? That's actually a good answer, because probably the closest thing is in basketball. If some guy out of nowhere, Green, was it, who's the Green for San Antonio several years ago? Danny Green. You remember the series against the Heat when he couldn't miss from 3-point line? And you're like, well, you can't beat that team if Danny Green's going to be the best 3-point shooter in the world. Because I know what you're talking about, Kev. Hearing Columbus had Bob Roski for a couple years. And it's when he got hot, it was like, what's that?
And then he was average.
But for 2 years, it was like you couldn't beat him. It's like all of a sudden they were a good team. Terrible team. But all of a sudden they were good. Couldn't lose. So I see what you're saying. I'll accept that. That's a good answer. I'm less mad now than I was. I'm just saying it's not easy to win an NBA championship.
100%. I think it's the hockey crowd is always the disrespected one, because it's like damn it, everyone loves watching our game come playoff time, yet we don't have the money that these other leagues have.
I think there's
not
some
to say
of
that they don't get paid well, but I
But
mean,
you're
if
no,
Connor
but you're
McDavid's
right.
only making $12 million a year.
I think hockey's in a good place. Like we didn't do much, we didn't do much on hockey, but I think, like you said, with Edmonton,
TNT's been the game changer for them.
And there's some good players, some really good, like
You get Lundqvist on there.
Connor Bedard, that guy, he's fucking good.
Yeah,
I know, and that's good. That because I'm a
McDavid. This McDavid guy, I love watching McDavid.
Is it McDavid or I don't know?
I'm pretty sure that
who's the one that had like 90 goals.
That's
Bedard. McDavid. He's.
But Bedard just got drafted to Chicago. Not that they have a great track record recently.
No, it was the other dude.
Franchise,
the other one.
You're thinking the Toronto guy. Matthews. Great
Matthews.
season.
He's good. That's the one. No, I'm thinking about Matthews. Yeah, he's the one. He's nice.
If you guys think that,
but I'm pretty sure that I could just stand in front of the goal line. I could just stand in front of the goalie, and McDavid could score a goal off me. He could like just ricochet it off my face and get a goal.
If you guys think that the Knicks can be bad, like the national media around the Knicks at times, the Maple Leafs is the most toxic media that is out there. It's if a guy goes pointless for 2 or 3 games, they could still be winning, and they're still talking about shipping him out. Like it's crazy.
Well, actually, I don't know who's your team, Kenneth. I don't even remember.
I'm a Red Wings fan.
Okay.
Ken doesn't like anything Canada.
No, but I will give you one of the heartbreaking reasons why the team didn't make it into the playoffs this year. Came down to the final game. They had to win against Montreal, and they needed Philly to beat, and they pulled the goalie, even though we went on to win the game because they had to win in regulation.
I know.
And they were tied.
I know because I work with a Red Wings fan.
Yeah.
Nobody would pull the goalie in that situation, but that was one of the worst losses not getting in the playoffs.
We scored with 3 seconds left in regulation to send it to a shootout, which we won. But because a team that was tied pulled their goalie because they had to win in regulation, then Washington scored on an empty net to win the game.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. He was miserable. Because I got to work the next day and I'm like, who in the fuck pulls their goalie with a tie game? And he explained it to me, and I was like, oh God, that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
And what's so dumb about the way that hockey works is Detroit had the 7th most wins in the conference, but because they won more in an overtime and shootout, they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Despite having the same amount of points.
That sucks.
Happens.
But the other side of that is fuck Michigan. So like that's the other side. Like you can get past it if you realize Detroit's in Michigan.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better.
That's funny. All right. For me, my baseball, it's crazy to think this is probably my first love. I can give 2 shits about it right now. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I have, this is probably the most least interested I've ever been in baseball in my whole life. There's nothing juicy going on. Other than Ohtani's whatever, the betting thing, but like I'm talking about on the field.
It doesn't get juicy until September, anyways. We don't care until September.
But it's like,
you want to talk about a postseason sport. Baseball is actually probably the most postseason sport.
I love watching postseason baseball. I just can't get up in July and care about what's happening with the Dodgers and the Reds.
It's hard. It's a hard to get.
There's not even any other sports on. That's the thing. You're in July. There's no hockey. There's no basketball.
This summer's going to be worse because we're at least going to be mildly interested in the WNBA.
Yeah,
we'll have the Olympics.
Olympics too.
Man, I don't fuck with Olympics no more. I'm kind of done.
I'll be interested.
I'll follow the basketball. Here's the thing though. Once I put all this time and lose all this sleep through the NBA playoffs, when it's over, I need a little break because I only got till August, and then college football's here, so I got like 2 months to recoup. I don't have time. I can't invest that much in.
That's what I'm saying, Jeff. Like as the older you get. Like I used to be like, baseball and football and college football, college basketball, NBA, all this. And I'm like, wow, my brain can't consume all these. So I have
I
to
just
kind of
gave
pick
up
and
baseball.
choose. And I'm like, all right, baseball got sacrificed, football a little bit, but it's like, all right, I got to pick one sport. I'm going to be all in on basketball. And that's kind of what I've been. Is like I've become more not true casual with football, but like baseball, I'm like, who's that guy on the Yankees reliever? I'm like, I have no clue who this guy is. It's just, it's just become that. But that's for me. It's baseball has definitely not piqued my interest this year, especially. But it's been like that for the last few years.
It's not in a bad place. Like good
Nah,
players.
There's some good young players. Yeah,
it is just not. I don't know, super entertaining, fun. I don't know how to describe it. It's
something. There's something that's there. Like, right. I'm not just going crazy. Like,
it's just not that much fun.
Nah,
it's just not that much fun.
Something, but that's gonna be it for OG3. We got a lot to talk about.
We should have invited Kenneth. I think Kenneth would have liked this show.
We talked a lot, but actually a lot of playoff. We didn't even get to a lot of topics we were going to talk about because there was some stuff.
It's all good. I like talking basketball. That was a good basketball conversation. I like it.
There's a lot of stuff that happened with Dion, and maybe if Mo, maybe we could run it back tomorrow, if Mo's available and all that, because we got more to talk about.
I'll be off the grid till at least Monday.
So we'll have some stuff to talk about if we do Monday show. We'll have some stuff to talk about, but that's it for another OG3. Ken had to go take a shit, so he had to. But everyone, appreciate everyone who tuned in. Appreciate all the support and all that. Make sure to check out offtheballnetwork.com. Make sure to follow on YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff.
If you're listening to this on Jeff Needs Sports, we appreciate it. I put the audio version out on Jeff Needs Sports.
Jeff puts it on audio on Jeff Needs Sports, so follow that on Spotify, Apple, whatever podcast platform you listen to.
Make sure you follow Kenneth at Hedge Podcast.
Competitive Hedge. Follow me Off the Ball Pod. I got some new things I'm working on. I got a new draft show that I'm going to be debuting next week with Corbin Ford, who is a big-time scout. He scouts a lot of the young talent
there he is.
coming up. So did you wipe?
No, I had someone knocking at my door about upgrading my internet. I'm like, I just needed a charger for my laptop.
That's a weird. That's a weird conversation to have.
Let's sign off before there's an axe murderer to come out to your house and we witness you getting killed. But on that note, be well, be safe, take care. Peace out, guys.